Many Russians are freezing this winter. Chinese cars start suddenly dying on the Russians. Russian artificial intelligence helps design a completely new breed of cars, Moscow Mules. Dmitry Medvedev loves Africa now. Letter Z is untouchable these days in Russia. Putin admits Russian government hunts down political opposition leaders. And the biggest and saddest news of the week, Russia just announced its desire and plans to annex Uzbekistan and move further. And Uzbekistan is officially taking steps to defend its sovereignty. Welcome to another crazy Friday Russian news update. Have been so many crazy news this week that I had to leave many outside this stream, or this video would have been too long. Howdy friends, my name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. Every Friday I give you a crazy news update, straight out of the Med Circus. First things first, there's no such absurdity that could not be realized in Russia. Please remember that. I'll start with a weather report. Winter is here. Well, it's actually the middle of the winter, as in many parts of Russia, winter really starts in September. This year, winter in Russia is strange. It's cold. It's, well, not like it's not always cold, but this year, winter is cold. The winter is strange because many Russians start sending video messages to Vladimir Putin, complaining that they are freezing. Like this video. Check it out. This is Siberia, and the Siberians are addressing Vladimir Putin. They are complaining. They're saying they're not getting enough electricity and they're not getting enough heat. They are freezing. They are complaining that the local authorities aren't doing anything, and they're asking Vladimir Putin to interfere. Interesting. Well, why are you complaining, the good Siberians? You have plenty of wood, and if you don't, you can always go to Russian commercial banks and take out the firewood loans. It's a new bank product they have come up with. Special program to support you so you can make it to the spring when it warms up. And also, check this out. This is not Siberia anymore. This is Elektrostal, a city right next to Moscow. People are complaining that it is winter and they have neither hot water nor heat. And they are clearly upset. Again, this is not too far. This is part of Moscow province, just, minutes away drive from Moscow. And they're complaining that their children get sick all the time, no heat, no hot water. What the heck? There's something wrong with this picture. My dear Russians, you got it all wrong. The winter is not supposed to be cold in Russia. It's a tropical country. It's supposed to be cold in Europe. Gazprom knows better. I'll remind you. Remember that? The winter will be very cold in Europe and very long in Europe. And Russia has all the gas it needs and enjoys, and Russia is absolutely warm, and look at this. European cities are gonna be falling to the ice. Oh, really? You Europeans, you take a good look at that. That's what they were showing last year, all over TV, all over internet. Oh, wonderful Russia. So much energy, so much heat, so much power, so much electricity, so much gas. Ooh, gas. Getting shut down to the European cities. And the winter, oh, that'll be so long. Paris, Vienna, not London, I guess, Milan and other wonderful cities. Oh, you're gonna freeze. And look at mighty powerful Russia with plenty of energy and heat. Yeah, those frozen European cities. Well, good folks. I want to address Russian people. Remember, you all good Russian people? You were cheering to this video last year. You were wishing Europeans to be cold and learn a lesson. You were wishing them eating their pets due to hunger and cold. Something's wrong, right? Perhaps you still think that things are right and everything is going according to the plan? I have a suggestion for you. It's December 22nd, winter solstice. You're halfway there, dear Russians. Celebrate. Go have 3 or 4 eggs and have a feast. 3 months and it'll be warming up. Things will get better. Just pray that this upcoming summer will not be hungry for you. And another news is about winter also. It's been, I've been telling in my reports, that the Chinese auto industry, the Chinese cars, have been overtaking the Russian market. Basically, over 85% of all cars new sold in Russia are Chinese. And most of them are, most of brand new cars sold in Russia are Chinese, of different brands. And this winter is the first winter for them, And this is how the Chinese cars perform in Russian winters. Well, they simply stop. They die. The drivers must abandon their cars, but if you're stuck in a temperature of minus 40 degrees Celsius in Siberia somewhere, or northern Kazakhstan, some of these scenes were filmed in northern Kazakhstan, which is right next to Russia's border, and it's night and there's no one around, and there might be no place to abandon to, Now, perhaps it's all the cars perform like that in Russian winters, because they're harsh winters, minus 40, Perhaps it's so cold that all cars freeze to death. Well, in my 20 years of living in Russia, I drove mostly German cars, Audis and Mercedeses. And you know what happened when it got real cold? They started driving even better because they're like tanks built inside and out. That's German engineering for you. And this is the Chinese engineering once more. Check this out. Again. How about that? Like that? The Chinese engineering for you. Take a good look. That's what happens to the Chinese cars. And again, this is the first winters, and they're brand new. Imagine what happens to them when they're like a couple years old. And when the Russians come to the Chinese dealers that sold them the cars and complain, the dealers just look at them and say, well, shit happens. Live with it. And I tend to agree with the Chinese dealers. Live with it. And the next news is also auto news. and it concerns taxi business. In recent months, taxi cab rides have skyrocketed in prices all over Russia. That is a fact. They're very expensive in Moscow now, in St. Petersburg, in Rostov-on-Don, all over the country. I talk to people from different cities, and they tell me the same thing. The taxi cab rides have started costing so much more. And the last week, the Public Council for Taxi Industry Development proposed to the Russian government to temporarily allow migrants to work in taxis on the territory of Russian Federation. Now, so you understand, there's been taxi cab industry lobby in Russia, and for about 10 past years, it had been trying to make the requirements for taxi cab drivers more strict for foreigners, to ban foreigners to work as taxi cab drivers altogether, things like that. And now, there's a complete reverse turn. They want to allow foreigners to drive cabs. I wonder why. Well, because according to the council, there's the shortage of personnel in the industry, which, according to many experts, is anywhere from 50,000 to 2.5 million people. Folks, did you hear me right? The shortage from 50,000 to 2.5 million people. I wonder where all these people missing disappeared to. Well, perhaps this, wonderful council and the Russian government should look westwards, to the lands of the Western neighbor. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. The next news comes from the Russian parliament. A Russian Senator Vitaly Milonov, who is a frequent guest in the Crazy Russian News Updates, suggested that all the Russians would donate days' earnings to 1 day's earnings to Russian servicemen fighting in the war in Ukraine as their New Year's gifts. I don't really know what to comment, really. I was going to say something really nasty about that first, but I thought that perhaps the good Senator Milonov cares not just for the servicemen fighting in Ukraine, but for regular Russian people, for their health and well-being as well. The recent medical studies show that fasting can be good for you. Since the Russians don't earn much, they donate 1 day's earnings and they have nothing to eat for that day, and they fast. Drinking water is still cheap and plentiful in Russia, But wait, that's not it for the good senator. Vitaly Milonov publicly asked Grandpa Frost, Russian version of Santa Claus, for a present for himself this week. Check this out. He wrote a letter to Grandpa Frost. And the letter said, "Dear Grandpa Frost, this is me, Vitaly Milonov, writing you the letter. Please grant me a New Year's gift this year. Please let me go to the territory where the special military operation is taking place." What is left behind, left out of this video, is that he adds at the end, he says, well, the Ministry of Defense does not allow us to go there. The order is an order, but, I would really like to go. Poor guy. He wants to go to the front lines. He can't do that. The order is the order, He's such a law-abiding citizen. The Minister of Defense or Offense has ordered all good Russian senators to stay in Moscow. And they can't really join the armed forces. Poor guys. So good Senator Milonov made a wish to Grandpa Frost to go to join the front lines, but unfortunately he can't. Well, I know one grandpa who sits in a large red castle across the street from the Russian parliament. Yeah, this one on the picture right here. Nah, he's not quite Grandpa Frost, But the old man Krampus, he has power, plenty of power, to grant Milonov's his wish with just one little single movement of his pen. And folks, let's hope that in 2024 Vitaly Milonov gets his wish granted. By the way, if you're liking today's news update, please help me spread it by making reposts in your social media accounts. That actually helps a lot. Folks, thank you so very much. And the next news is of festivities. Dmitry Medvedev, you all know who he is, all of a sudden reminded us of his existence. Not only he came back from his public speaking retirement, short retirement, he did it with a bang. He suggested a wonderful idea to all Russian people. Check this out. Let me translate. He says, oh, you're just talking about the Europeans, and they don't want to see us Russians in Europe anymore, but, you should really switch to Africa. I just came back from Africa, and it's a fantastic place. They're very welcoming people there, and, that's where you should go. Vacate in Africa, of course, vacate in Russia, but go to Africa. Nice place. Don't go to Europe anymore. Vacationing in Africa. That's what the Russians really need now. First, they all get into lines to get cheap eggs and they buy as many as they can afford, like 3 or 2, 5. Throw New Year feasts, celebrate New Year, and off they go to Africa. That'll do. Dmitry Anatolievich, it's great to see you well and sober again. Thank you so much for caring for us Russians. We definitely will consider Africa for vacationing now. The next news comes from His Excellency himself, Vladimir Putin. He was asked about the witch hunt against a Russian reporter, Alexandra Bayazitova. She conducted an investigation on how federal money were stolen from a large commercial bank. She was sentenced to 5 years in prison for that. A bogus charge, of course, just an act of revenge from bank's owners. So Putin was asked if he knew she was being hunted. Someone is taking revenge on her. And Putin's answer was absolutely, unusually honest. Is she a major opposition figure to hunt her down? He answered. Now, folks, am I the only one who understands that Vladimir Putin just publicly admitted that the opposition figures in Russia are hunted down? Am I the only one with eyes and ears? Have you noticed? Have anyone noticed? Please let me know in the comments below. I'd really appreciate it. An amusing news came from Krasnoyarsk. Check this video out, you're gonna like it. This fella had a little fight. Well, he had a little bit of drink first. Or much drink, I don't know. And then he had a little fight with letter Z. That's a monument in the eastern city of Krasnoyarsk. And he basically wanted to knock the honorable monument down. The video is pretty amusing to us, but not so amusing for the guy. He was arrested and charged. What's the criminal code article? I don't know. By the way, you're seeing the policeman looking at what he did on their recording. So, what's the criminal code article? What kind of law he broke? I don't know. Could be anything these days in Russia. Like spreading fakes about Russian army. 15 years in prison. That's what everyone gets charged with these days. Because in today's Russia, you can't even touch the letter Z any longer. It's a holy seal, the sign of Russia's greatness. The next news is tragic, but somewhat expected. Yevgeny Pastrigan, chief accountant of company called Information Satellite Systems, academician MF Reshetov, committed suicide. On December 17th, Yevgeny left home to never return, and his body was found later. The reported cause of death is asphyxia. Young, happy, healthy, rich. Suicide, right? Yeah, this is the guy. This company he worked for, Information Satellite Systems, is a leading Russian enterprise for the research and production of spacecraft for communication, broadcasting, transmission, and navigation, and geodesy. On paper, Russia has plenty of satellites, and the communication was top-notch. Oh, absolutely great. Well, came February 2022, and the reality was harsh. No satellites, no communications. Do you understand how much do satellites cost? We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars. Imagine how much money was stolen over the years. And who knew of every single dollar stolen? And where that dollar went? To who people, to what accounts, and so forth. That's right, the chief accountant. Of course, he was in business with other people. He was not alone. But we know now who will be blamed for all the theft, and Yevgeny is taking all secrets to his grave. What a convenient suicide. Hey, Russia, the end of 2023 for you. People commit suicides, they fall out of windows and they just drop dead, Crazy times. If at this point you're asking yourself how I can help this channel, that's easy. The best way is to hit the like button right now. That button is down below, right there, so please do that. Or to buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com or become channel's patron at patreon.com. Either way would be fantastic and much appreciated. The links are down below, and thank you so very much. The next news is wonderful. It's from Venice, Italy. Huh? How about that? Didn't expect that, did you? Meet Sergei Karaganov, quite the guy, the honorary chairman of Russia's Council of Foreign and Defense Policy, one of the founders of the Valdai Club, where Russian President Vladimir Putin meets with different people and experts. In April of 2023, take a look at this guy. Take a very good look. I want you to remember his face. He's a big deal in Russia, In April of 2023, this political scientist, Karaganov, whoever it is, political scientist, he wrote a magazine article. In that article, he suggested that Russia must launch a preemptive nuclear strike on Europe in order to break the will of the West and achieve victory in the war with Ukraine. Oh, the good scientist Karaganov. It just happened to be that the good man Karaganov owns a 2-level apartment in the area of Castellano in Venice, Italy. It's registered in his name, he owns it, and also registered in the name of his wife, joint property. He rents his apartment in Venice to visitors and receives income there. That actually hurts me and many other real good Russian people who have fled Russia, who have taken stand against the war, against the government, who have decided not to go and fight in Ukraine, who have stopped paying taxes in Russia because they don't want to support Russian military-industrial complex. The European ban us, people who are good, anti-war activists. And at the same time, the Europeans welcome Russian criminals who not only support the war inside Russia, but want to drop nuclear bomb on the Europeans themselves. The Europeans welcome them with arms wide open. That hurts. That's a crazy European news for today. All right. The next news is promising. Yevgeny Garanin, the vice president of ROSAtom, world's largest building contractor and operator of nuclear power plants, spoke out of companies for the first time. He admitted that ROSAtom is conducting artificial intelligence research and development. Garanin informed everyone, he wrote an article in a magazine, so he informed that ROSAtom has been researching AI technologies since 2018. They have advanced much. Currently, ROSAtom has already implemented its artificial intelligence system called Atomic Mind. I like the name. ROSAtom is currently researching an analog of ChatGPT. That's pretty darn cool. Impressive. Moreover, ROSAtom is aiming to have a breakthrough for humanity by 2045. That's what they announced. I guess it's some kind of a secret project that they're spending lots of money on. Finally, we have something positive about Russia. Finally, I have something positive to say. I'm not sitting here and saying, hey, folks, look at Russia, look at us, we can't do anything. Finally, that's cutting edge. That's, mark this guy's works down. Atomic mind, for goodness sake. Artificial intelligence, right on. Ooh. Oh, I'm all charged up. The next news, and it's also good news. Actually, folks, a little uncomfortable for me. I have to admit something publicly. Yes, I was wrong. Every time I get something wrong, I admit it, and it happens. I was wrong about Russian automobile industry. I misinformed you. I am very sorry about that. I previously said that Russians have not designed anything. They have not designed any cars. That even Ladas that produced in Russia are nothing more than foreign-designed cars that are assembled in Russia using foreign-made auto parts. Well, that's not true anymore. There's a new car. Well, it's actually, I would say that there's a new car type is born. It's born and bred in Russia. It's 100% Russian. Nothing foreign. Proudly designed and produced in Russia. I present you, ladies and gentlemen, the Moscow Mule. The Moscow Mule is the product of Moscow Automotive Institute called MAMI and a manufacturing plant called Avtodor, actually. It used to be, it's located in Kaliningrad and used to belong to BMW. And look at this thing. Before the war, Avtodor produced BMWs, Series 5 and X5 SUVs. Now it produces the Moscow Mule. This red car is a prototype only being tested, but it's going to be mass-produced in upcoming 2025. Oh, goodness, check this out. This thing is so elegant. The new word of industrial car design. Forget BMWs. Those are so yesterday. Compare the poor BMWs to the Moscow Mule, huh? See that? So light, so elegant, fantastic stuff. I mean, look at the wheels. The rumors have it that both Mami, the designer, and Avtodor, the producer, used the assistance of Rosatom's AI system, the famous Atomic Mind. And this is the result. Elegant, again, check this out. Elegant, fresh, innovative, reliable. This car is so cool. I want to touch it. I want to drive it. Oh my God, I'm looking at this picture. I want to lick this picture, you know. I take it that the mule must go fast. Look at this sports wheel, you know, wheels. They just, ooh, impressive, good. Check this out. Large sports wheels. You know, I think it'll easily break Russia's speed record. 80 kilometers per hour. BMW, are you trembling yet? The way it goes with the Moscow Mule, it'll drive you out of the markets. You're gonna lose lots of business, huh? Whew. I just want to ask ROSAtom one thing, and please, I want to beg ROSAtom actually, please keep your AI system away from everything connected to nuclear. Please do us a huge favor. Please keep on designing cars like that and other wonderful consumer goods perhaps, and mass produce and sell them to the Russians, but just don't try to let this atomic mind anywhere close to the nuclear power plants that you're running. Whew, please. Folks, I hope that you laughed enough, because then, this Moscow Mule stuff is pretty interesting. The next news and the last news of this week is actually pretty serious, dead serious, and very, very sad. I made it the last news of my live stream, my video, because I didn't want to disappoint you, to make you feel sad in the beginning. So it seems like Russia is not going to stop expanding, annexing other lands and countries. Russia has different plans. Please check out this video. This guy's name is Zakhar Prilepin. He's a very known guy connected to the Russian government. He connected to Vladimir Putin, and then that's what he said a couple days ago. Check this out.
Потому что вот эта вот тема, допустим, часто поднимается и качается, в том числе нашими врагами, тема мигрантов, миграции, возможного конфликта. Ну, ответ-то на самом деле простой. Ну, рожайте детей больше, мужиков рожайте новых, и не будет этой темы. Чем больше русских, тем меньше проблем с некорректно ведущими себя понаехавшими людьми. Я, на самом деле, еще стою искренне за то, чтобы вот эти вот территории, откуда едут к нам гастарбайтеры, чтобы их присоединять просто целиком и уже на месте их, обучать русскому языку. Чтобы не здесь их учить, а там уже, собственно, там, в Узбекистане, допустим. Спасибо. Мы будем, я всерьез на самом деле говорю, я не шучу, не валяю дурака, будем далее продвигать тему, дезавуировать документацию, что позволит нам в любой момент, собственно, сказать, что так как 2 миллиона ваших граждан находятся на нашей территории, мы, собственно, претендуем на вашу территорию, потому что большинство ваших здесь, они уже проголосовали даже за это. Ну или какая-то другая форма, на самом деле, может быть придумана. Кто нам запретит после парада в Киеве, собственно говоря, что-либо сделать полезное на евразийской территории? Никто.
Folks, let me tell you, who is this guy? Let's talk about this first. Zakhar Prilepin, he's somebody. A Russian writer and a publicist, a public figure, politician, blogger, and a military man. Member of Public Council of the Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation, the member of the Commission on Law Enforcement and Military Discipline. He participated in the preparation of proposals for the amendments of the Constitution of Russia that was done 3 years ago. On May 6, 2023, he survived an assassination attempt in Ukraine. Zakhar Prilepin is a somebody who is loud and who is heard. You just saw the video I showed you. I'll show you one more time. Look at this guy. He's not sitting, in some dark room or anything like that. That's RIA Novosti, official newsroom. Okay, it's Sputnik, it's news agency, and he is surrounded by very serious people. You know, check this out. Yeah, right here. You know, he's a somebody. He had a number of radical political initiatives in the recent times in the parliament of Russian Federation. In August of 2022, he, along with the senators, some senators, crafted Traitors Commission, an analog of the McCarthy Commission in the United States that happened, that existed a long time ago. And yes, his words are usually taken seriously in Russia. He voiced the plans to annex Uzbekistan. He said quite a few things that shocked me. And again, you gotta understand, I'm not a naive boy anymore, okay? I understand what Russia is about. I understand its plans. I've been covering all these issues for the past 2 years. And still, sometimes I get shocked. And this guy shocked me. He stated that, first of all, Russia needs to annex some other countries, such as Uzbekistan, and force the locals, Uzbeks, to learn Russian inside Uzbekistan. Oh, don't they love that? I mean, the Z Patriots, speaking of Russian language. This is Uzbekistan, and that's language is Uzbek, okay? Anyway, he also said, look, who is going to stop us after we march the victorious parade in Kiev? We can do anything we want. And that is a clear direction that he talks about. That's what Russia is aiming at. Again, I am shocked. And I did take his words seriously. Immediately after I saw the video, I called a few people in Russia whose opinions I trust and I respect. And they were not so serious about this guy. I said, don't listen to him. You know, he's a crazy guy. No, he's not a crazy guy. I totally disagree with that. I beg to disagree with most Russians who I heard. I listen to him. I hear him. And it turned out that I was not the only guy listening to Zakhar Prilepin and taking his words seriously. The Uzbeks listened. The entire country of Uzbekistan listened day before yesterday. The president of Uzbekistan listened. The senators, Uzbek senators, they listened and they all heard what he said. Russian ambassador was immediately summoned to Uzbek's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and given a diplomatic protest note, officially. The Uzbek parliament senators went irate. The politicians went irate. An Uzbek politician, Rasul Kusherbayev, publicly told Prilepin and other Russians willing to annex Uzbekistan to go and have sex with themselves. And I tried to put it nicely. I think you understand what he said. He said that in a very rude form, live, for the entire country, and he addressed it to the Russians, publicly, in Russian language. Other Uzbek politicians are following the suit. There are plans to charge and imprison Prilepin in Uzbekistan. It's very sad. Prilepin just voiced what was silent before, you know. Russia doesn't really want to stop with Ukraine. It wants to continue to expand. And the first victim after Ukraine is obviously Uzbekistan. It's been voiced. It's official. If Prilepin is not an official part of the government, he's official enough for Russian ambassador to be called officially in Uzbekistan and to be given the diplomatic note of protest. That's pretty darn important and pretty darn official to me, okay? I'm not feeling good about that. That's the news. Russia wants to keep on expanding, and Russians think that nothing and no one will stop them after they're victorious in Ukraine. They will have a victory parade in Kiev, and then they can go ahead and start taking more countries, annexing more lands. Well, that's gotta stop. Before I sign off, let me make the next news an announcement. For the first time in Russia, municipal politicians are officially standing up against Vladimir Putin. Russia is entering a very interesting, turbulent political time. Russia is becoming feverish. It's shaking. For the first time, officials are standing up and unite and demand, not ask, not try to be heard, but they demand something of the president. And my next video will be just about that. I think this needs to be talked about in more details. It's not just the news. That's quite a conversation. Please tune in. And that's it for the news update today. Now I suggest you check out another video I made documenting how I was leaving Russia forever. The link is right here. Molon Laba, thanks for coming and watching.